Some people, they use the war to make more money.
We're talking close to $1 billion in accumulated losses.
Kuwait Airways did not start losing money yesterday or last year or the year before.
Bureaucracy.
What's happened is interference, political interference.
What would need to change for Kuwait Airways to stand on its own?
By comparing the number of the aircrafts and the services and the operation, we are in a good position.
What happens when something goes wrong?
The impact is really huge, bigger than the COVID-19. It's not the price of fuel now, it's the shortage of fuel.
Is there any decision that you regret?
Well, I'm not going to tell you.
Good afternoon, and thank you for tuning in. This is the second episode of The Middle Ground, a space where we analyze the business landscape of Kuwait and of the wider region through the eyes of the people shaping it. I would like to start this episode by thanking our partners at Studio 8 for having us, as well as this episode sponsor, Kuwait Chemical House. Thank you so much for your support. In the first episode, we spoke about logistics as being a catalyst to the rest of the sectors of the economy, and we understood that one way or another, everything depends on how things move. Now, today we're staying in the same realm, just at a different altitude, because if logistics is what moves things, we need aviation to move people and to connect these economies. So today we're stepping into the realm of aviation and understanding a bit what it means to carry the weight of a national airline. And today I'm joined by Captain Abdulmohsen Alfagaan, Chairman of Kuwait Airways. Captain, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thanks.
It's really an honor because I know it's a very busy period in your time. Now, I'm going to start a bit with you before we move into the most important subjects of the day. And the reason why I do that is because you didn't step into this role in a traditional way, directly as a chairman. You're somebody who has background in aviation. You were trained as a pilot. So you do have a wider understanding of the sector, not only from a strategic perspective, but also from an operational perspective. I know that in 2023, you were appointed as a chairman, and it wasn't a period that was easy. At that time, Kuwait Airways specifically was going through a period of restructuring. There was a lot of uncertainty, and it was still trying to redefine its position in the region. So I would start by asking you, what does it mean for you to carry the weight of Kuwait Airways on your shoulder?
Yeah, well, first of all, it's really a pleasure to be here with you and maybe discuss a few things about Kuwait Airways itself. Many people, they don't maybe know the background of Kuwait Airways. For myself, I started as a pilot in Kuwait Airways at more than 20 years ago. I started in the management beside flying as well. With a small role as a deputy operation director for training. So I was in charge of the training. And then from there, I stepped, step by step, I became operation director and then the chief operating officer. I've been involved in many projects in Kuwait Airways itself. That's maybe gave me a very good background of management and also understanding Kuwait Airways itself as a heritage. Also, Kuwait Airways, being a pilot and employee in Kuwait Airways for more than 40 years, I saw all the changes in Kuwait Airways from the 80s to beyond the liberation of Kuwait after the war and so on, and all these changes. So it gave me the good background and a rich information to maybe try to lead the best way that Kuwait Airways deserve and what the best way I can do it. It's a very big burden to be ahead and in charge of an airline, a flag carrier such as Kuwait Airways. When we say Kuwait Airways, we say Kuwait itself because Kuwait Airways is over 70 years old, so 7 decades of heritage, 7 decades of up and down, 7 decades of changes in the country itself that develops with Kuwait Airways developing itself. Yes, of course, we know that there's a certain times that Kuwait Airways, same as any other airlines, goes into sleep. I call it a sleep or, a calm period. And then when I took over, post-COVID, restructuring Kuwait Airways, the country going into a new era of Kuwait vision of 2035, and then the change of the political of Kuwait itself. Kuwait Airways, and same to other entities in Kuwait and even ministries and parts of Kuwait. It was very damaged. I can say that. This is my opinion, by the way.
Okay.
Damaged by the internal political of Kuwait, the way it was. For example,
ask in what way exactly that was?
For example, there was very influence and interference from outsiders. For example, the parliament in Kuwait at that time. Okay. They wanted to be a profitable airline, but at the same time, you have to employ more than you should employ. They wanted to be a profitable and a very active airline, and then you restrain it with rules, regulations that is not supposed to be done, and so on. So these things have really damaged the airline, made not just the airline, even the people who manage the airline and trying to bring it up would have a very strong limitation. So when I came, it was at that top. It was the strongest period. The resistance, the problems, and all these things. And I remember that I put 4 pillars for Kuwait Airways to come out of what it is and to become better, and to work to first. We try to concentrate on improving their services and bring Kuwait Airways, the name that everybody used to it, and everybody loved it.
Yes.
We're talking about the 1980s. There wasn't many airlines in the area except Kuwait Airways. So we were pioneers at that time.
I did hear some stories about that.
Yeah.
Somebody told me about that era when they were flying Kuwait Airways, and they said that they were carving real chickens on the plane. And they said when you wanted cake, it was coming a full cake.
Yes.
And you could choose which cake you want. And they said service was unbelievable. Yes.
It was very generous. It was... the flavor, when you go travel, you're not traveling for tourism. You are starting your tourism on board the aircraft.
Amazing.
So we try to bring that back, and I think we succeeded somehow doing that, having the passengers experience from the moment they are at the airport onward until they reach their destination. So we even gave the chance to passengers to order their own food, or if they wanted some. For example, people having birthdays or want cakes or celebrate on board.
So you can celebrate your birthday on board?
Oh, yeah, you can. Yes, you have to let us know 48 hours or even more before that, and everything will be arranged. Yes, of course.
This is wonderful.
Yeah. Many people did that. So again, to go back on the subject, Kuwait was, when I took over, there was big challenges. We came over these challenges, and with the transformation of the country itself toward development, more focus on a vision, which is 2035 Kuwait, and the improving all the aspects around the country. And recently, as you heard, the Visit Kuwait, the tourism program,
yes.
We are part of it, making visas easier. So also don't forget that all this is being prepared toward the new terminal, we call Terminal 2, the opening of that terminal, which is going to be a very big hub, similar to the models of the countries around us. And so you needed to improve yourself. You needed to start thinking of more destinations, start to grow toward that Terminal 2, right?
I will get to that, I promise.
Okay.
But going back to your role, I would like to ask you something. From a chairman perspective, do you see yourself more as a business leader or as a custodian of a national symbol?
No, it can be mixed of both. It depends the role. Sometimes you are a business because you want to make the airline profitable, and somehow I have to stop here and say that a national carrier cannot be a profitable model as much as it is sustainable. For example, a low-cost airline or an airline just focus on making money,
yes,
and all the aspects, That means their services will be customized, will be limited. But for us as a national carrier, and we are carrying the name of Kuwait, the state of Kuwait, right? We have to give better service. We have to be more generous. For example, allowance of our luggage, the food is served on board, and so on. So you cannot, in this model, by only selling tickets, by only operating as an airline limited to that point, you will not be profitable. But you can be sustainable. You can break even. You can be, your operational cost similar to your revenue cost. So you are in a balanced way, and you are serving your country in other way. Maybe we'll talk about it after, political side, economical side, and so on. Yes. Right? So you have to balance. So talking about this role, yes, sometimes you are a businessman, sometimes you are, for example, as you said,
custodian. Yes. Yeah. But I want to know something. What part of your role do you think people overlook the most? And we can talk even about the tougher things they have to do with this industry.
Listen, look, for me, to be honest with you, I'm not looking for, somebody to cheer me and say, well done, my name. I'm saying, yes. I want them to say, well done, Kuwait Airways. So, yes, there's a lot of roles that you do background. There's a lot of hard work that we do, plans that we set. Some of them are very, if I can put it, harmful. For example, harmful, what do you mean? You have to lay out some people, you have to retire some people. This is, affects you, but this is life, right?
Yeah, it's the natural course of business, exactly. I guess.
Yes. So you do some parts, people, they don't know about it, but the result comes out of it. It shows, yeah, very good, fantastic. So again, it is a whole complete role that you do. You cannot say that I'm concentrating on the commercial side and forgetting of the operational side. You cannot say I'm doing the operational side, improving it, and forgetting about. So it is a whole business thing that you carry on. The most important thing that people don't, if I can say it, is that we work 24/7, and people, they don't realize that.
Yeah. It's true. When you think of a chairman or a CEO, you think he's always having fun, going for dinners.
It is. Even if I take a break for the longest break I ever took is 13 days.
In your entire career?
Yes. No, and since I became a chairman.
Okay.
Right? So even at the 13 days, you are working outside, phone calls and, things, and looking after that. If there's a problem happens, and just to be my luck that when I go on a holiday, always there's a crisis or something wrong happens that they have to communicate with me to solve.
Were you in Kuwait when this recent situation started?
Yes, yeah, I was in Kuwait.
I actually want to touch this subject with you because we were talking about things that people overlook. And I think there's a lot of things that people don't understand in how an airline is affected when any such situation arises, be that like we saw in COVID, a pandemic, or any medical emergency at a global level. But it can be, as it's happening now, political tensions, military tensions. And I would like to go back to the subject and ask you, for Kuwait Airways specifically, what was the first impact when the airport was closed?
The geopolitical situation that we've been in Kuwait Airways, because of the location of Kuwait, it's been like ongoing process. Unfortunate to say that, since after post-COVID, we faced so many political interruption in the area. The 12 days, for example, recently last year, we're talking about October, the 12 days war between Israel and Iran, it affected us a lot.
Was the airspace closed back then?
It was closed at the Iraqi side with the Iranian side, and of course Syria was also closed.
But the airport locally was not closed.
Was not, but we had to make a contingency plans, and we have to make alternate routes and special procedures to fly safely, for the passengers. So that time it was a limited area of conflict, right? Mm-hmm. But we always have a plan, even before it's happened. You see, for us as an airline, we have a plan that set as a general, and then when things happen, you come to this plan and implement and correct and readjust the points that you want to, depends on the situation. And even during implementing the plan, you adjust it and you monitor it, of course, and you adjust it all the time, almost hourly, with your flights to see that things going in the safe way.
Exactly.
So you know that flying is, you always concentrate on flying on safety of the passengers, your crew, and the airplanes. Now, with this situation, it's completely different. It's a blockage of the airspaces, right?
Yes.
It's not the airports is closed as itself as much as all spaces are closed.
Yes.
Some people says that, okay, you can fly toward the south, Saudi Arabia, and then go. Yes, we know that. But we're talking about the space of Kuwait, space of Bahrain, and GCC countries. Of course, affected the airline, not just us, everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And when we analyzed the situation, it was not safe to fly from the 28th afternoon, 28th February afternoon when the aggression occurred. It was not safe to fly at that time. And then we started to monitor. We put our plans. Even today, talking to you, we have a plan. Although there's a ceasefire at the moment, right? Mm-hmm. But it only can be implemented with the civil aviation and the government agreement, because they see things we don't see. They have more
information
more than us. Yeah,
exactly. I'm curious to understand something, though. Kuwait Airways was just now recovering from what had happened during the COVID pandemic. And I want to know today, how much more shock can Kuwait Airways absorb? Because it seems like it's one major incident after the other.
Yeah. To be honest with you, Kuwait Airways was not just Kuwait Airways, mainly the world, but let's say Kuwait Airways was not or did not recover post-COVID. It was as a continuous effect of the COVID-19 that's happened, the damage that's happened to the airline, the supply chain of the spare parts still up to today, even before this aggression, we are facing it, and the prices and so on. Things have changed behind post COVID-19. Mm-hmm. Now, this one is worse. Why? Because in COVID-19, we have everything available, but we cannot operate because countries have locked themselves, right? At this time, it's the other way around. We cannot operate because we locked inside. We cannot.
Exactly.
We cannot take our passenger from or bring back to Kuwait. So the impact is really huge, bigger than the COVID-19. COVID-19, we could say to people, you can go home, have your leave, and then even after the leave, they had some airlines and some even companies had to give unpaid leave, take measures that to reduce the cost on themselves, but there was no operational cost.
Yes, exactly.
So you're not spending money, fuel, catering, taxes, and all sorts, insurances, right? And COVID-19. Here at this time, we are spending more money, and we are not operating as much as we're supposed to do. Yeah. This is the problem with this war.
This is exactly what somebody mentioned recently. They said in COVID, we were still able to operate, although with restrictions, with safety measures. But now everything literally stopped.
Yes. Today you can operate physically. You can take your aircraft and fly it and all this, but you are locked out because of the space. The aerospace in the countries have shut down.
I do want to take advantage of your position to ask you something that I'm personally curious, and I'm sure everybody watching. Since you're sitting across so many stakeholders, help us understand in this given situation, and any similar situation, why does the airport remain closed? Because we have seen, in the region at least, that some other countries have at least partially opened their airports, their airspace. Can you tell us anything about this?
Yeah, we have to understand many factors, that it's not the airline who decide to operate or not to operate.
Of course, yes.
It's the civil aviation and the country itself, because civil aviation is laid down under the country or the government of each country. Now,
sorry, when you say country, Who do you mean? Who exactly in the country decides?
For example, the civil aviation of Kuwait, belongs to who? It belongs to Kuwait government through one of the ministries, for example, the defense ministry.
This is what I wanted to know. Is it the specific ministry that makes these decisions? Is it the cabinet?
Of course, it's a government. It's a cabinet.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
After analyzing, after taking the data, which we are doing since the war started up to yesterday.
Yes, of course.
We are analyzing. Well, they are analyzing more, but we are involved with them. Sometimes we get called to put or to give our input in the situation. Right. Kuwait location is different than other countries in GCC. Kuwait is between two countries that we don't know which is the hitting.
Yes, exactly.
Between Iraq and Iran, this is the difficult. That's number one. Second, now this is called ceasefire. It's not called end of war.
Yes,
so anytime it will start, right?
Yes.
So imagine you start operating again. This is my opinion. I'm just saying how I look at it.
I want to know your opinion.
Yeah,
yes.
how I look at it. Now, if you start operating again now, and for example, 1 or 2 days, and immediately, exactly February 28th, what's happened at that day when we have all our aircrafts out and the airport or the airspace has to close, we cannot return our aircraft. So they are strangled outside, right?
Yes.
With the passengers, the crew, airplanes. This is more hassle than a certain operation that you are operating from your base with a safe, and you know that your flight going and coming back and so on.
So a lot of unpredictability.
Exactly. This is one. Second, we waited for 45 days. Can't we wait for another 5-10 days to see how the things goes? It might be end, and we all hope that there will be end for this war. And then we start operating. At the moment, we are operating from Dammam airport.
Okay.
The operation going very good. We had difficulties. There's a big challenge. You are operating out of your base.
How many airplanes do you have in Dammam?
Our fleet is 30 aircrafts, but in Dammam we operate. We don't keep them all the time there.
Yes.
We operate as much as we want. If we have a flight, it goes there and takes the passengers. So we don't have a certain number left in any airport.
Okay, so you're adjusting as you go.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, depends on the flights. As we increase the flights, more airplane comes to the airport. But again, they fly, so they don't stay all the time at the same airport.
You mentioned earlier the fact that, if we waited so much long, can't we wait a bit longer just for the safety of people? And there is one thing that I know for sure, that Kuwait Airways is renowned as the safest airline in the region. Didn't have an incident in more than 3 decades. We haven't heard of any such scenario.
Thank God.
Congratulations for that. But I want to understand from a passenger perspective, for everybody watching to understand a bit, why is the end consumer feeling this so much? And we talk here either pricing, delays, cancellations, because at the end of the day, it feels like they are the ones who are suffering the most. Why do you think there's so much shock being absorbed by the end consumer?
You're talking about the current situation, or
yes.
Look,
I heard unofficially, obviously, I heard the price of a plane ticket nowadays. It's very high. It's 3-4 times the price it normally was. Obviously, considering the routes to Saudi.
It's 40% higher, sometimes 50%, but mainly 40%. Listen, when the war happened, the prices were the same. The other way around, there's so many cancellations, and we announced for our own passengers, we said we have no problem to cancel, and we gave them a certain email site to send their request to cancel. Some passengers have insisted to keep their tickets, and then they start flying. Some of them flew recently with us, and they find that what they paid, they had to pay 40% more. This is because too many factors. One of them is that the fuel prices increased 108%.
Okay.
So you're talking if you are paying today $100 for the fuel, for example, for the gallon, you are paying $208, $210.
I need to stop you here.
Yeah.
I have to. We are in a country that is oil rich. we know that 90% of the GDP of the country is coming from oil.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have to pay full price for it,
Yes.
even in such conditions?
Yeah, because in Kuwait, the model in Kuwait country, the prices they take it international price.
Okay.
So when they charge us, they charge the same. Although we have some benefits, some what we call discounts,
Okay.
but still it is a high percentage because of the worldwide. This is one. Second, most of our flights nowadays, we are not flying from Kuwait. We are flying from Dammam. So the fuel we are taking from Dammam or taking from other countries. For example, if we go to UK, London, the airplane, when it's arrived there, it takes the fuel from London. Exactly. So the prices, even in Europe, it's went up to 100 and, if I'm not exactly sure, but 125 to 127% higher than it used to be. Yes. So it's even more expensive at that time.
Yes, Europe was
to compensate, you see, the fuel of airplane
mm-hmm.
is the most expensive part of the trip. So passengers, when they pay their tickets, most of the tickets paid, the amount of money is toward the fuel of the aircraft. Then comes other charges, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this, on the one hand, the thing is that it's not the price of fuel now, it's the shortage of fuel, jet fuel.
Mm-hmm.
Now we are facing shortage jet fuel in the world. Many countries now, they ask us when they come, you have to come with tankering, you have to come with your fuel to return back.
My God, it's like the costs don't end. It
Exactly.
keeps piling up.
The third factor is the insurance. The same as the Marines, the insurance have shot up. Same as with the airlines.
Yes.
The insurance went chaos, big numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So for to keep running, to keep operating, you have to compensate for these, and who suffers, who takes the hit is the passengers. Again, as for Kuwait Airways, if you compare our tickets, we did not raise our prices as high as supposed to be, meaning that we raised as much of the fuel and the insurance, but we did not put the add-ons for example, the profits and all this. We tried to keep the profit margin so low, so our passengers keep flying. This is one of the reasons you can see that most of our flights now, whether to London or to Cairo or to India, or nowadays we have almost full flights to Manila, right? Because we kept the ticket margin. For yourself, you can check. You go into the Google, Google it. But when you compare point to point. Like, for example, compare Kuwait-London.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, we operate from Dammam. But right, Kuwait-London, Kuwait, how much the ticket?
Mm-hmm.
And other point in the Gulf area to London and back.
Okay.
So compare both of them and see that you will find out Kuwait Airways is cheapest.
Okay.
Not cheapest, but cheaper than they are.
So you're still trying to support the passengers, bottom line.
Yeah, because we are a national carrier. We flag carrier. We represent Kuwait government or Kuwait states.
Yes.
So this is different than a business model that want to gain money. Some people, they use the war. Sorry to say this, but they use the war and the situations, crises like this, to make more money.
Unfortunately, it's a reality of business that we know. But I would be interested to know something. You did mention that the two situations are very different in nature. The COVID situation compared to what's happening now. Nevertheless, my next question is, looking at what happened in COVID, do you think that there's anything that Kuwait Airways learned back then that it's helping it navigate better the current situation?
Yes, very good question. Yes, we do. If we don't learn from previous experience, we never can. I always say, if you don't learn from, or if you don't read your history, you never can make future, right? So we did. For example, we took measures. We made a contingency, what we call contingency crisis plan.
Mm-hmm.
Should not be contingency crisis plan.
Yes.
This crisis plan had many items. One of them is that you have overstaffed, so you tell them to go on leave. For example, I'm just giving. You take other measures, right, to cut down on your expenses as much as you can.
I'm thinking that your industry is also requiring a lot of human capital. So for you, it's a heavy decision, this one, right?
Of course, yes. And so again, we took measures that to cut down on the cost. We are very good, and we're doing very well in cargo. Which, funny enough, last year we were putting a plan for 2026 to increase our cargo shipment, because our aircraft is not only cargo. It is passengers and can carry cargo with it. So
I remember, if I'm correct, that during COVID, Kuwait Airways supported massively by transforming its planes into cargo-friendly planes, so they can bring the essentials into Kuwait.
Yeah, not just the belly, even the top, the passenger seats. They moved them. Some of them they made a special model to put the cargo and the weight inside the aircraft instead of the seats. Yes, we did, and that's what we did now. We are carrying maybe up to yesterday, if I can remember, just under 900 tons of cargo we did within 3 weeks, which is a good number for us. So this is the plan that we did, that we increase cargo, for example, traveling passengers and all this, but at the same time, the most important for us is to cut down on the expenses as much as we can. For example, we have some vendors that we have a good relationship with them. We said, we are seized. We are not using the facility that we are taking from you. So either to stop the cost at that period, or to have a discount or cut on the cost. So the measure it's working, not bad, but it's not the solution. It's just, to help that to go through this crisis.
Aviation is an important sector of the economy, but as we all know, no sector works in a silo. We all depend on other services and products to maintain our operations. This is why I would like to thank today's sponsor, Kuwait Chemical House. Kuwait Chemical House operates at the intersection of multiple industries, supplying essential chemical products across sectors such as oil and gas, water treatment, construction, and aviation. For decades, the company has worked with both public and private entities across Kuwait and the wider GCC, supporting operations through supply agreements and service contracts. In industries where continuity is critical, access to the right materials at the right time becomes a key part of how systems function. From industrial processes to infrastructure and environmental services, chemical supply sits quietly behind many of the sectors that drive the economy. Companies like Kuwait Chemical House operate within that layer, connecting global supply with local demand across a range of applications. It's a role that is not always visible, but remains essential to how industries operate day to day. It's important that you mentioned that, because for sure finances matter, and we need to understand that these situations don't affect the airline only operationally, but also financially.
Yeah.
I did write down a few things I wanted to discuss with you, because I have to do my part of research.
Sure.
According to Reuters, during COVID, and I'm going to read for clarity, Lufthansa received around 9 billion in state support. We saw Air France, KLM receiving over 10 billion. And in the United States, airlines received more than 50 billion in federal aid. So we know the state support is a very important part of aviation, because it helps them absorb the shocks. Yeah. Now, we're looking at Kuwait, where the structure is a bit different, because we know that Kuwait Airways is fully owned by the Kuwait Investment Authority. So the relationship between the airline and the state, it's not external. It's a direct relationship. Now, according to Reuters, again, we have seen situations when financial constraints were addressed. Last year, there was a recent plan where the KIA addressed around 300 million Kuwaiti dinars. We're talking close to $1 billion in accumulated losses. And this, again, is not something unique. It's just something that does raise a question about the trajectory that we're going in. And I do want to ask you something. For people who are looking from the outside at what's happening right now, how should they look at Kuwait Airways? Is Kuwait Airways a commercial airline that is expected to operate independently, or a strategic state asset that is supported as part of a broader national role?
Okay, this is good. I can take my time explaining a few things, because you hit the points that I think many people have to understand.
Please.
The model of Kuwait Airways, exactly same model of other companies that I will not mention the names, but they are owned by the state, right?
Okay.
These countries, they own their own flag carrier. So we are the same model. First of all, I always say people, when they come ask, Kuwait Airways losing money, I said, what is it to you? Sorry to say, but what is it to you? Are you not enjoying your flight? Yeah, I am enjoying my flight. Don't worry about Kuwait Airways, because Kuwait Airways has its owner that will take care of it. This is
fair and square.
Exactly. When somebody comes and he's enjoying the flight on Kuwait Airways and really happy. It's happened to me, and somebody asked me, a good friend of mine, had a good relationship, and he said he came from Geneva, and he said, I never had a fantastic flight. I've been flying on X airline, but Kuwait Airways. I said, thank you. This is very encouraging and it's good. But can I ask you a question? He said, I said, yeah. So why Kuwait Airways losing money? I said, did you enjoy the flight? He said, yes. I said, okay, then go home, enjoy yourself. Don't worry about this. But again, to go back and maybe to answer some people that are really curious about this, Kuwait Airways did not start losing money yesterday or last year or the year before.
Okay.
The model of the airline itself was confused since 2008 when they came and said, we want to privatize Kuwait Airways.
Okay.
It's a good idea and it's a bad practice. The idea is to make the airline make money. Again, when I go and I said before, airline by itself, only selling tickets will never make money. You go ask any aviation people.
Yes.
You have to have side business. That's why you see other airlines, they call themselves a group. So they have 5 to 7 companies, daughter or sister companies that feed them.
And this requires, includes exactly what? You were talking airport services, catering, what?
Exactly. Ground handling, for example.
Okay.
So it's become, you can see it, X ground handling, the name of the airline, but ground handling. You have catering services. You have the sales and ticketing by itself as a company, right? You have the maintenance, MROs, that we call for engineering and maintenance, this is the heaviest part of the airline that costs a lot of money.
Okay.
They have a company for it, and so on. Even the training, they have its entity and it's by itself. These companies, they all work. The airline, by selling tickets, they are losing. They are spending. Let me put it this way: when you operate, you spend money for sure, operational money, OPEX, right? So you spend money on the flight. Fuel, catering, even the overhead. You pay the salaries for the crew and so on, and the taxes, the overflying, all such things, parking of the aircraft. Now, these are you spending the money? Where the money comes from? From the tickets. If the ticket's not enough sold, or on a good prices to compare with the service. We are giving very high service, right? Quality. Yes. You said it yourself. Kuwait Airways very high service. Exactly. It's a legacy, right?
There's planes where you go and you don't even get water.
Well, yes, I agree with you. So high service, you spend high money, high quality, and your income revenue is less because you want to keep your passengers happy and coming with the good prices. I'm not saying cheap, I'm not saying expensive, but a good price, right? So you need the help to reduce or let's say to inject money, so to compare your services to the operation that you are spending. Okay. Right? So you have to have a side. So we go back on Kuwait Airways. Kuwait Airways, if you go back 30 years ago,
I would love to. I want to take a plane and go. I want somebody to bring me all the cakes and ask me what I want to have.
Well, even at that time, Kuwait Airways never made money. Always the government have paid money for the airline. Although at that time we started with the 15 aircrafts, maximum was 17 aircrafts until the privatization law came 2008, and then up to 2014 they started buying aircraft. They said, okay, we need only 25 aircrafts, 10 wide body, long range aircraft, and 15 narrow body, short term aircraft.
Yes.
Short distance aircraft. So that was the agreement. And the law says the government will pay for the capital.
Okay.
The government will pay for these aircrafts.
Okay.
With time, changes of government, changes of cabinets, changes of this, they made Kuwait Airways pay for their own aircraft.
So an overall change in policy.
Exactly.
Mean. Yes.
And when this has happened, and you come and you inject and you pay for your capital from your asset, what happens to you? Of course, you shrink. You start to look. You are losing, right? For example, last year, 2028, we made revenue over 2025. Sorry, we made revenue over 440 million KD.
Okay.
Right.
Is this good?
It's very good for the number of aircrafts we had. Very little aircrafts. You're talking less than 27 aircrafts.
Yes.
Yeah, on average, we had 24, 25 aircrafts, right? And we operate widely. We don't operate just limited route, right?
I would be curious.
But the cost is higher than the revenue because of you have capital to pay, you have this to pay, and that. Yeah.
I would be curious, following up on what you just mentioned, to understand if you think Kuwait Airways is now more towards its road to sustainability, or do you think it's still heavily reliant on the state support? It
will take time. It's improved. 2025 onward, we had what we call initiatives that implemented to increase the revenue and decrease the expenses. Again, without hitting the value and the fundamental services and the best services for the passengers, and not to touch the safety issue. Talking safety, for example, spare parts, airplanes has to be maintained and all this. You spend more money on that, right? But yes, it was. But unfortunately, look, the last quarter, fourth quarter of 2025, we were 21% higher in passengers number than 2024. Although 2024, our aircraft were 32 aircrafts.
Okay.
At 25, we were 29 aircrafts.
Okay.
So even with the less number of aircrafts, but higher occupancy of the seats, we managed in 25. The number was much better. We were aiming for 26 to be even much better. But the first quarter been hit by this crisis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And because we're talking about this crisis, I want to ask you something. What happens when something goes wrong? You are the chairman of Kuwait Airways, but who ultimately feels the consequences? Do you have somebody that you keep on speed dial? like some people suggested, do you have the Amir? If anything happens, you make a call.
No. It is accountability, right? The airline works this way. We have accountable people. The chairman of the board, he's the one in charge. If the good things happens, nobody say the chairman is
of course.
good. Bad thing happens, they come and say, on the chairman.
Of course.
So to be honest with you, it is, we have the CEO that he's accountable as well. And then the other management of the operational department, they are accountable. So each have their limitation of their accountability, right?
Yes. But
in the end, the chairman is the one who's really, because you put the policy, you follow the policy, and you evaluate them from time to time. So anything, God forbid, happens, of course, it's this chairman. We have our communication channels that how to pass the message, or of course we have the owners, which is the KIA. That they always get informed of any things that within the limit, their limit to know and to act upon. Yeah.
I was with this question, I was trying to understand if they tend to show leniency, or if your role is really at risk constantly.
It's aviation. We're always at risk.
Always at risk.
Yeah. You cannot relax. Nobody can say to you, "I will sit and relax." That's why I say to you, when I go even on my break time, holiday, or anything, you're always busy with watching everything happens. And when this war happens, the aggression of Iran on the GCC countries, especially Kuwait, we had thank God we were reading where the tension happen in the area. So we had our plans, we had our, set some procedures for that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because I come from background aviation as a pilot, I always have a alternate one, alternate two. When we fly, we always have alternate. So same as with my management, I do that. I always have an alternate in case anything might happen.
Okay.
So we did have the plan, but we did not expect a full closure of the airspace and the seas of. That's why you see the first 4 days, talking about 1st March up to 4th March, we were planning what we had our passengers, some passengers outside, they did check in, we took care of them with a limitation of the rules and regulation. That's the rule says that if there's a war or anything, you can take care of, give them accommodation for 2 nights, and then they have to find their own, because you are hit yourself. There's no solution for that. Some people came and telephoned. They said, no, we are strangled outside. You should give us accommodation. And they wanted to stay for a month or so. We cannot do that. Yeah. So what we did is, it didn't take us long time to find an airport, tamam, to make a logistic. It's not easy to get clearances, to make logistic, to have your staff there, make new contracts with catering, handling, and so on, right? So we did that within the limited time of 4 days in Ramadan, from 1st March to the 4th to 5th March. Then we started to bring the passengers. And what we did in the announcement, people read it, people who would like to come back to Kuwait. So there was no force. People thought it is, you have to, like what's happened in COVID, when the Kuwait government announced that all Kuwaitis has to come back, unless if you don't come back, it is your responsibility. So what we made the announcement, if you want to come back, if you don't keep your ticket, we will compensate you, or you can use them later on. Right?
Yes. So
we managed. This is one of the advantage, as you said. You asked me, nobody compliment. We don't need it. We're not looking for that. But it was a very, very successful procedure that we brought the passengers back to Kuwait, and we made sure our aircraft in a safe, close airports to us. We distribute them with a friendly and good relationship countries that we know. So doing that, this is 4 to 5 nights not sleeping, almost 24 hours you are working, making plan, making sure this aircraft departed, yes, arrived, passengers on the buses, did the bus arrive to the board, and so on,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Mr. Alfagaan, Kuwait Airways is one of the oldest airlines in the region. And we know its legacy goes very far. And it was a great, great example. And we know that some of the airlines in the region actually borrowed a lot of knowledge from Kuwait Airways in terms of service and many other things. But when we look at the landscape today, things have changed significantly. We're looking now at major airlines in the region who are really challenging the status, let's say, of Kuwait Airways. And there's a lot of question marks here, but also people who feel that it's such a shame, right? I want to ask you, from a strategic perspective, as a chairman, what would need to change for Kuwait Airways to stand on its own?
Kuwait Airways start by the good vision of the political leaders of Kuwait, start to go in the correct direction and start to bloom. Okay, I'm saying a start, which was everybody noticed that.
Yes.
Right? And we were short of a hub, a good airport that we can connect the passengers from all over the world. You cannot come on an airline and say that I only depends on the people in Kuwait, although there are 4.5 million, for example, Kuwaitis and the expats. But this is not enough. You needed a bigger airport, terminal, with the facilities of the country that give transit visas, visit visas, tourist visas, make it easy, because we were very locked airline and very locked country, and it's due to the political outside Kuwait, and we all know that what we suffered, Kuwait from 1990 onwards and so on. So, and this is in the plan. And we have a business plan already done to be approved, not yet, but it is in the correct direction, even the number of the aircrafts that we need. So why Kuwait Airways is late? Because of many factors. The biggest factor is the internal political parliament and so on in Kuwait, and the interference of Kuwait Airways from outsiders. Yes. I'm saying outsiders, whether it is the politics side of the parliament or other influences, people try to influence Kuwait Airways. And having saying that, the external effects on Kuwait Airways to become or not to become a good airline and a challengeable airline is from the competitors. They try to soak your market and take your share market from you, which is this is, by the way, it is a fair challenge, but you have to give me the same tools. Don't be a giant and come and fight with me as a small, or I am limited inside the country, right?
Yes.
So this is what we notice since, God bless him, the Emir of Kuwait, Sheikh Mishal. We pray to God that give him the best health and long life. He did this. He focused on the country itself, a whole country. And the best thing is that to do for the country is give each companies, each entities a chance to improve themselves. We started to challenge, 2025.
Yes.
The share market of Kuwait Airways raised up. We have the numbers, right?
Okay.
That's a good indication that you are doing well. You're gaining back your market because this is our market, right? But again, all the elements has to be worked together for you as an airline to as Kuwait Airways to go back and to become a challenge airline, and we are challenging, by the way. The reason the why I'm saying that, last quarter of 25, there was no seats. People calling, and it is the dead season from October. We know that to mid of December. This is a time people don't travel, right?
Yes.
My phone never stopped people calling me wanting seats and wanting a reservation, and they cannot find the seats. Some of them said, "Can you make this aircraft bigger than it is?" I said, "Well, it is a 777, Boeing 777. This is the biggest that we have. It takes 333 passengers."
Was this a consequence of you opening new destinations, or what do you think drove this growth?
It's many facts. One of them, the passengers have started to trust Kuwait Airways again.
Okay.
Especially, not just the services, on-time performance, other factors that helped. Also, passengers, Kuwaitis and non-Kuwaitis that live in Kuwait, they love Kuwait Airways and they trust Kuwait Airways in the past. So they lost that trust, and maybe they lost it for a while, again, because of the elements I told you and the challenges that from outside and all these things. But we managed to gain them from 2024 to 25. People start to trust, want to travel on Kuwait Airways. So that's why they start flying immediately. And then when they said, before there was a propaganda, Kuwait Airways, the prices is high. And again, as I said to you, go check point to point, don't check transit.
Exactly.
See the price. You can find that Kuwait Airways always been the cheapest than other airlines.
Exactly.
So this is I think the Kuwait Airways, yes, it will challenge with the opening of the new terminal. I think many around us airlines that they are scared of it.
We're going to reach to that, but just to finalize this topic, because I sense a lot of optimism in everything that you shared right now. Do you think that there will come a point when Kuwait Airways will stop relying on the state support?
Yes. We put that in our business plan. You see, again, as I said to you, to make money, you cannot be a profitable. We can. But what I'm saying is that if you want to be a profitable, you have to have other businesses around you to help you. But first of all, we want to reach the point that Kuwait Airways be sustainable. That depends on itself.
Exactly.
Our operational cost covered by our income, revenue. So here we are breaking even. So we are working good. If I lose a little bit and then I need a little bit help, few millions, or I make money so I can compensate.
Exactly.
There is many surgical operation has to be done for Kuwait Airways to reach that. One of them, we have loans, big loans that accumulated from 15 years ago up to today.
Okay.
They have
These
interest.
for aircrafts.
Yes. Other things. That's big loans, right?
Okay.
Has to be covered.
Yeah, of course.
Otherwise, you are carrying a weight on your back.
You can't.
And you want to run. You cannot do that, right? Or So you have to get rid of that. Reshaping and restructuring the airline to work as an airline, not as a Ministry of Health or Ministry of, it's not a serviceable ministry. Also, always to have new routes, new ideas, good services.
Exactly.
This is the challenge with the others. Yeah.
Mr. Alfagaan, we already spoke about operations. We spoke about strategy. I would like to move now the discussion a bit into positioning, because it's a very important part of this. And it's a question that I'm sure a lot of people have. Where does Kuwait Airways position itself in the region? Because we know we have a lot of major players around us.
For me, I don't like to compare ourselves to others. Each have their own flavor. This is what I always say.
Okay.
But we are a very good player in our own field. Similar to other airlines, they are good. Some of them outside playing very well and all this. But again, as I said to you, the focus came back on Kuwait Airways recently from the government itself and the owners of the airline, which is very good. This way, it gives you the chance now that they ease things for you. They help you in blooming, help you in increasing and growing in yourself. So in that sense, you are gaining better share market of your own and some share markets from other markets, right? So bringing. What do I mean by that? I mean that the government now give the priority for Kuwait Airways. For example, now the ground handling that Kuwait Airways we're doing for all airlines comes to Kuwait through Kuwait Airways. This is very good service and income for Kuwait Airways. Also a good service level for other airlines to show this is Kuwait state. Again, as I said to you, Kuwait Airways is Kuwait itself. So when I do service for any airline foreign airlines comes to Kuwait airport, handling them and giving them all the services with a good, and by the way, February 2026, the on-time performance in Terminal 1, which is the foreign airlines that comes in it.
The international airport.
Exactly. International airport. It was 98% on-time performance. This is huge, almost 100%.
But this has been increasing steadily. I remember that when I arrived at Kuwait around 2017, there were discussions about delays, but then very soon after I arrived, that was quickly resolved. I remember that the planes were always on time. I did travel multiple times Kuwait Airways. So
it's important for any airlines to keep on time, not just for the passenger satisfaction, which is number one, but also to keep on schedule so the airplane come back again on time so it can be operated and so on. So utilizing the aircrafts. But again, for Kuwait Airways to see itself in the market, we are in a good position with the number of aircrafts you have. Don't forget, we are probably the least number at the moment in the region, right? So by comparing the number of the aircrafts and the services and the operation, we are in a good position.
Okay.
I'm not just saying that because I'm the chairman of Kuwait Airways, but that's what we see. Now, the minute we are increasing the number of aircraft, the minute we are growing, the minute we are increasing with the new facilities, Terminal 2, other facilities that we are now we are starting other companies that to be joined in Kuwait Airways to become a group. I think within the next 5 years will be a very big challenge with the others. We will even hit the number the first 3 airlines.
Before we talk more about the future, I want to know, from the transformation journey that happened so far, in your own experience, what do you think was the hardest thing to change? So you always ask really very, very, very good questions to the point, right? The thing, first of all, as I said to you, when I came to Kuwait Airways post-COVID and the mentality
and the way the operation of the staff, whether the crew or the maintenance or the normal, administrative staff.
So more like challenging the status quo that it had back then.
Yes. The loyalty to the work.
Yes.
That was very drawn. People come just want to make money and go, and they don't care if their job is good, the work is good, is the airline doing well. In my time, we're always proud of Kuwait Airways. If anyone asks us, wherever we go in the world, you're part, yeah, I work for Kuwait. I work for Kuwait Airways. Kuwait Airways. We always are proud saying Kuwait Airways. Now,
exactly, national symbol.
Exactly. Some people, you go to them, not now, but when I took over, they will not even say they work for Kuwait Airways.
Why do you think was that?
Again, what Kuwait Airways went through, and then after COVID, I don't know, people maybe lost that sense of loyalty to the work. I always say you have to be loyal to your work.
But do you think that maybe, and I'm going to put it out there, do you think that maybe there was a period when the reputation of Kuwait Airways suffered, and maybe that's why people felt more
properly? Yes, I think so. That's why, again, as I said to you, this is my was very big challenge, and my first really thing I wanted to have all the people who work for Kuwait Airways to have their loyalty back to their job, to the Kuwait Airways, to be proud of it, and then to give their best effort to the airline. That's why we implemented KPI. There was not KPI before,
after all these decades.
Exactly, there isn't. There's just evaluation, and your manager evaluate you. If I like you, I give you good. If I don't like you, and so on. Now there's a system.
Okay.
Also, we implemented. This is with the restructuring of the airline. We implemented what I call the all-in-one employer. You don't do just one job. You don't just concentrate on doing this job. No, you can do that job. And so you learn the job of the next door to you, and that so you can do whatever needed from you. You're not just focused on, for example, collecting tickets one day. And no, you can issue the tickets the next day, or you can print whatever at the other. So, the whole and one.
More collaboration between departments
exactly,
and cohesion.
And yes, to create the teamwork, and the airline,
I want to interrupt you for a second. We're talking about national airlines, and this is massive. And we look around and we see national airlines, state-owned, and I'm talking here about the giants, we have to say it, Emirates and Qatar Airways. They seem to be so far ahead, right? And crazy to say, I know there's a story that says there was a basic from Kuwait Airways who flew in and spent more than 6 months in Qatar training Qatar Airways on how to deliver service to passengers. And for me, it was like the story of the tortoise and the hare. What do you think they're doing so well that it's so hard to replicate?
If I can say about Qatar Airways, the pioneer person, Bakr Al-Bakr, if you know him, the CEO, the ex-CEO of Qatar Airways,
No.
He's the one who started with the airline. He put one condition when he came and they appointed him. And he said to Emir of Qatar at that time, he said, I don't want any political influence. I don't want anyone have influence in the country to interfere with my job. Let me do my job to put Qatar Airways on top list of the world.
Yes.
So he said, you have that. And he made rules that nobody will interfere with him, with his job. So that's how Qatar came to it.
So you think it's just having a stronger position in terms of decision making and nobody interfering? Not just that.
Again, Kuwait Airways, I'm telling you, 1980s, even sometimes in 1990s, Kuwait Airways, we were the best in the area.
Exactly.
What's happened is interference, political interference. People come and try to interfere. Sorry to say this, maybe even some employees that they have effect from other sides that, affecting, right? That's how I'm saying.
So there is no lack. That's what you're saying, right? There is no lack of talent, lack of finances, lack of willpower. It has just been a long period of interference.
You need to put correct procedures and rules and implement them. And when you implement them, you implement across the board. You don't implement on Christine and not on Abdulmohsen. You implement across the board and encourage the people. And then you have to have a target. When I came to Kuwait Airways, there was targets, but it was imaginary targets, So
what do you mean by imaginary targets?
Imaginary, like, for example, this office, ticketing office, their target each quarter is, for example, 200.
Okay, number, any number.
And then the next quarter is 200. All right, beginning of winter. Then the third quarter is 200.
There's no increase.
Summer, it should be more.
Okay.
So they put a target where they can reach it or even pass it. This is not the correct target that you should.
So basically, we could say that there were policies that were protecting more the employees than the interest of the airline.
Exactly. The employees themselves, the ex ones, and I'm sorry to say that, they put some rules and they changed some rules to benefits of the worker rather than the airline. I always have to balance between the two, right?
Who are they?
What do you mean, who are they? Some people worked in the airline and they left.
So people from the management of the airline,
management, of course, and so on. That's we're talking. Look, this is another story about Kuwait Airways. It's quick change of management. There's no stability. You need the stability in an airline.
How did you manage to stay for so long so far?
This question,
Let me rephrase. Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you. Right.
Mr. Alfagaan, I want to look into the future with you, but I also want to touch on a reality of the airlines, that we don't work in a silo, right? Airlines are not standalone. They also depend on the environment around them, on so many other things, like we said, maybe other industries, petrochemicals, I don't know. I want to talk about the future of Kuwait. Can it become a hub in the region? Because at the moment we have two major hubs that everybody knows is Dubai and in Qatar.
See, everybody, even you go to, I have very good friends in Emirates Airline and Emirates itself, and I have good friends in Saudi and all these. Everybody knows that Kuwait, state of Kuwait, the location, right? It's the best location geographically in the area.
Exactly. I agree.
Do you
100%.
know that if I fly the Airbus 320 from Kuwait, I can reach all the way to Bangkok with the new 321s, the long range ones.
Okay.
But if you fly them from other point in the area that we live in, that they cannot reach.
So that makes it even more economic for the end consumer.
Exactly. That's one. Secondly, again, the location of Kuwait with the major projects that coming, for example, the Mina and Mubarak project, the railway coming, the huge project that Kuwait government bringing into Kuwait for the next decade will make the focus of the whole Middle East again on Kuwait itself. So that's why Kuwait Airways will, again, as I said, will grow and will become better, and even maybe a big challenge to other airlines in the very near future.
But I do want to ask you something. At the current moment, when Kuwait is not really a hub, right? We're talking here more about volumes, let's say. What do you think are the main constraints? Is it a matter of policy, of airspace, of infrastructure? Where are exactly the bottlenecks?
Again, don't forget, you are coming out of 20 years of no development, maybe the other way around, anti-development, right? 20 years of wars and political, internally, externally, and all these things.
Yes.
To starting now, again, as I said, from the blessed era of His Highness the Emir, and he put a rule that Kuwait has to become better than what it used to. I don't want to say we want Kuwait back as it. No, we want Kuwait even better than that.
Exactly.
Since then, all the obstacles start to be removed away. For example, as you said, the infrastructure.
Yes.
A new airport. The terminal was supposed to be open 2023. Okay. We know that's COVID. We know there's but there's other elements that stopped it, or reasons that stopped it, or delayed it. Now, they are going full thrust to open it, and was supposed to be opened sometimes next year. This is what I heard. But even if it's opened later than that, we're still in a good position. Why? Because we need more aircraft. We need to grow. So when we move there, we have enough space. Because now, if I buy more aircraft, my Terminal 4 is not enough for passengers. It's very limited. It cannot take that much, passengers.
Actually, thank you for mentioning that, because these are for sure questions that people had, and I think what you're saying now, it helps bring a bit of clarity into these questions.
Yes.
I would be interested to understand something. In this transformative journey, and we're talking about Kuwait becoming in the future a hub, what will be the role of Kuwait Airways in that?
It will be the major role. It will be the ruling side of transportation, air transportation in Kuwait, and I think in the area. You can say, okay, you are chairman Kuwait Airways, you are optimistic. No, I can see that because I lived it before.
Okay,
and I know that there is the potentials are there, the willing is there, and the material and the capitals are there. We don't, and the brains are there. Yes. We have a lot of. You said it yourself. In 1986. 87. Emirates Airline hired 2 aircraft from Kuwait Airways, and I flew one of them at that time, and I was one of the pilots that flew. And we went there at that time.
Okay.
There was no hotels except Hilton. I remember we stayed in it, and other small hotels. Even the restaurants, is limited restaurants. Look at it now, which is I really happy for them, But and what I'm trying to say that Egypt Air, they hired Kuwait Airways and so on, and we were pioneers. So if you have the fundamental, you have the base, you have to you can bring it back again with a few operation here and there, surgeries here and there, and you will do it. And again, with the good infrastructure, with good airport, with good support, we have the full support from our government, right?
If you could change one single thing at a national level to really unlock the potential of the aviation space and the airline, the national carrier, what would that be?
Bureaucracy.
Can you develop on that a bit?
Well, sometimes you need to do something and you have a project which is a good project. But because we still hanged, although it is getting easier now, and at ease, but if you want to do something, it takes a longer time to achieve it. It's not because you don't want. You have the will, you have, but the procedures and the limitations and some steps that you have to follow to reach that. That's delay you and stops you from achieving quickly what you want.
Mr. Alfagaan, nothing seems to stop you. So I'm gonna bring the subject back to you, slowly closing on the episode of today. I want to know, first of all, how has this role changed you?
Well, physically, it's exhausted me.
Did you lose any weight?
Yeah. Well, I lost, but now I'm, it's funny enough when I stress or worry, I put weight on. So I think I did put weight on lately. It changed me. It made me see Kuwait Airways and the aviation sector itself, in a different level. Because you are at, let's say, I'm not saying the top as much, you are at the top and you can see everything down. It made me even think that things that I did in the past, I shouldn't have done, or maybe I should have done them better way, right? So give me the experience, this is for sure. Made me realize a lot of things that it's a dream, you cannot achieve them, and and a lot of things that you can, and to be and to always have in your pocket 2-3 plans for every situation.
Is there any decision that you regret?
Well, I'm not gonna tell you.
Okay, no worries. If you succeeded in your mission, how will Kuwait Airways look in the upcoming 5 to 10 years, if it's not too much looking forward?
Not really. I think I can see it from now. I can say it with a confidence that within the next 5 years, Kuwait Airways will be one of the strong airlines in the area and one of the loved airlines by the passengers, and a successful airline. And I think many airlines will be jealous, and there will be a lot of challenge, maybe it's good for the passenger because there will be too much competition, even dropping tickets prices to soak the market, what we call, so they can pull the passengers from you. But we know that passengers are clever. Sometimes they would like to pay money just to get their comfort and safer flight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When you eventually think about stepping away from this role, what would you like to leave behind you?
I would like to leave, to be honest with you, a legacy of Kuwait Airways itself, the name Kuwait Airways, to be always remembered through generations and to stay there. And also would like to leave behind me a better airline that when I came, I left it even much better. And whoever comes after to continue the success of this story.
If you had to define it in a simple sentence, what does success look like for somebody in your role?
Success that you can see your airplanes in the safe positions, flying, coming back. Success is all the passengers are happy. You can see that even through the media, Talk, or even in TikTok or in the X and all this. So many people, they compliment Kuwait Airways. We don't know them. We never met them, right? So this is success. Success, somebody I don't know, call me, because my numbers, everybody knows it nowadays. So they call, and my problem is I answer all the calls, so I don't, So and say
that is true. I know that for sure.
So and they just come out and they say, "We thank you very much. I had a pleasant flight." And this is really makes me feel proud and succeeded in or achieving what we're trying to achieve.
Mr. Alfagaan, thank you so much for taking all of this time. I know it's a busy period. It was a real pleasure to talk to you, and I'm sure everybody now has a bit more information that's going to stay with them for a while.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate this meeting and this interview, and I hope that I answered all the questions that you required from me.
Very much so.
Thank you.
For everybody who has stayed with us until the end, thank you so much. For new episodes, don't forget to tune in. We wait for you on all of our platforms. Until then, don't forget, meet us in the middle.